Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to a special game week for Midfielders pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zophar, and I'm joined by my co-host, Lateriser. How are you doing, buddy? Been unwell? How are you feeling? Feeling better?
Uh, I'm doing okay. Last night was terrible. So I would say this is very much yellow flag, 75% chance of playing. But I thought we'd do the main pod on Thursday, but a lot of people have been talking about midfielders. So I thought we could get like a 30-minute chat in to discuss the mids and then leave the rest for Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll have Pras joining us likely on Thursday as well. So why not?
Somebody stop off our Discord for team value as well. So getting a bit itchy with the price changes this season.
Yeah, I'm just, going back to fantasy football scout days in terms of how I play the game. Just doing what I used to do, having a bit of fun. Like I said on the last pod, don't want to be a responsible FPL manager, just do what I feel like.
Fair enough. Speaking of Scout, as you guys know, the FPL Wire is a part of the Fantasy Football Scout Network from our inception. All the data you see on the pod is from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. We encourage you to sign up using the affiliate link in the description below. Right.
All the stats that you see that Zoff does, on the Monday pod preview, which is great, by the way. It's a bite-sized 8-minute video which discusses the stats on Saturday and Sunday. And he makes sure to keep it under 8 minutes, under 10 minutes. So, if you haven't already checked it out, I think it's a great thing to watch with your Monday morning cup of coffee to get you in the mood.
Cheers for that. Cool. Let's get started. Lot of decisions this week in midfield. Lot of good assets we want to sell for other good assets. Do we keep patient? Do we make moves? A lot of us have free transfers burning hole in the pockets. Let's start. Who do we start with?
Let's go with your boy, Zoff, because he was the highest scorer in FPL this week. He showed promises of being back to form in real life, not so much in FPL terms, but he was playing well. He was looking sharp. The murmurs from the Chelsea camp in terms of what he was saying, he was exuberating a ton of confidence where he was saying, I feel good. I want to be the top scorer in this team, setting those goals for himself. And Poch is also saying, he's talking about how his diet has changed and all of that. And Poch is also talking about how he's one of the leaders in the Chelsea camp, etc. Is it a case of all fart no poo with Raheem Sterling, or is it rest time?
Just some quick numbers. So Raheem has had 6 shots so far, out of which 5 were against Luton. Prior to that game, he had had 25 penalty box area touches with just 1 shot. So it's been coming. So what he did, he apparently spoke to Pochettino after the Liverpool game about the position and the role he wants to play. And you saw that a bit against West Ham. So there's obviously a caveat, and we don't know how much to weigh Luton yet. I have a feeling that it's only Luton is something we're going to say quite often this season. So we must caveat that. But he's a proven FPL player. He's getting the supply line. The fixtures are good. I think he's going to be on penalties now as well, given that all the statement he made about being the top scorer. I don't think you can go wrong with Sterling. Good pick.
Yeah, I think he's a good pick too. Like, and especially if you're jumping on Sterling, now's the time to jump. I mean, the fixtures are still bloody good. You're looking at Forest at home, Bournemouth away, Villa at home, Fulham away, Burnley away. Like, again, just an incredible run of fixtures. What I like, and that works in Raheem's favor, in my opinion, there are 2 or 3 things, right? Yeah, we're still skeptical about Chelsea as a creative attacking outlet. Like, we don't know how much they're going to create. But if they do, it's a little bit like Brentford. I expect only 2 or 3 names to be involved in the goal scorer / assist column, and that's Jackson, that's Sterling, and that's Chilwell. Like, literally, based on the first 3 games that I've seen, it looks like these 3 players are going to be hogging the majority of the outfield FPL points. And I think another thing is Gameweek 5 was the whole European circle starts. And I can't stress how important having 1 week of training with Pochettino is, in terms of importance, in terms of not having to worry about an asset. He seems like a 90-minute man as well. Got subbed off in the 70th minute in the first game, but the next 2 games have been 90 minutes as well. So, could see some late goals as well. So just, he might not be as explosive as we saw him against Luton, but he's got that in his locker. He's got the ability to double, triple return in his locker, but his floor is also good. Like, if Chelsea score 2 goals in a game, which is what you reasonably expect, I'd say 1 return from Raheem looks pretty good. What do you say?
Absolutely. Can't fault anything what you said. And it's a good point you made, because I think our center mids, even the guys we bought, these aren't goal guys. Enzo, Sacedo, Lavia, Casedo, I keep saying that wrong. Yeah, Casedo, Lavia, whoever we have, even Gallagher to a certain extent, none of these guys look like they're going to chip in with goals. So the goal threat has to come from Raz, the strikers, the wing backs, stuff like that.
Exactly. So it's a little bit like Brentford, where not many goal scorers just in that team. So the returns are going to come from them. And he looks sharp. I mean, I know it was Luton, but he's been beating his player for the duration of the first 3 games. It wasn't just the Luton game. He just looks on it. And we're talking about an FPL asset. Let me just pull over his stats, historical stats on the FPL page. We're talking about somebody who's had 18 goals, 17 goals, 20 goals, 10 goals, and 13 goals before the 6-goal season last year. So he's been a double-digit goal getter in the league. Yes, for an incredibly good Manchester City team, but he does have goal-scoring pedigree. That's all. And if there is the chance that he is on penalties, which you are saying it could happen, then you've hit goal. I don't think you can go wrong with this pick.
I think we all agree. Anyone who's listening probably knows that Sterling is a good pick. But the thing is, now we'll go through all of them, and then we'll do the ranking at the end. Because again, we need to decide who to sell as much as who to buy.
Yeah, and I think when we're thinking about shopping for midfielders right now, I think there are 4 players that we need to discuss. That's Sterling, who we've already spoken about. There's Foden, Maddison, and Mbeumo. I think these are the 3 guys we need to discuss and then rank them in terms of where we are in terms of our list. Right. So where do you want to go to next? My boy Maddison, who I've been on since game week 1. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with Maddison as a purchase. Spurs have shown in spurts that they are going to be a good attacking unit, and they've shown that without anyone in the front three actually showing any form at the moment. But that team right now is built to play around Maddison. Like, Ange spoke about how he loves to give Maddo the ball, how the team likes to give him the ball, and he's dictating the play. Everything that is getting created in that team is going through Maddo at that moment. So, in terms of what I saw against Bournemouth also, it made me really, really happy. And the thing is, though, like, I will never be hasty to buy him. Like, I don't think he's explosive. He's gonna be he's like a Zoff pick. He's a tickler. I expect him to come around with 1, 2 returns week on week on week on week, and I expect him to be sort of a steady Eddie glue guy. That's what I see. That's how I see Maddo. Where are you at with that?
I don't agree now that he's got set pieces, potentially penalties, of course, purely speculation there. And he's got much more goal threat. Like we discussed, he's like sort of like, twin nines. A lot of the times he's the furthest man forward. I think he's got double digit potential for him every game because of the passes, the dribbles, good bonus potential there. No Europe
My
distractions
problem
again.
is
Go ahead.
my problem with Spurs is, like, you saw what happened against Bournemouth. If there was any half competent striker playing up front instead of Richarlison, Maddo would have gotten those 2 additional returns. But because of his role and because of him being fairly dependent on creativity also, like, I like the goal scorers more who are dependent on themselves, and he's supplying to dodgy strikers. You know what I'm saying? Like, are they going to finish the chances? I sort of find more security in players supplying to either elite strikers like Erling Haaland or creating the goal scoring chances themselves. So that's a little bit of my worry. That said, we could see Son start striker and Perisic move to wing, and that changes things massively. But I think Maddo is a great pick, but we'll come to the rankings later. He'd not be top 2 for me if buying this week. But I'm not against Maddo. I'm a happy owner, no consideration at all to sell.
Might be a case of grass is green on the other side. As someone who doesn't own Maddo, I really want to get him in. So we'll talk more once we get there. And I do think Spurs will buy. I do not see Spurs ending the transfer window without buying replacement centre forward or at least somebody who can play across multiple positions. We've heard rumors about Brennan Johnson, Gift Orban, stuff like that. Something will happen.
Yeah, the Brennan rumors are really, really heating up at the moment. So if that happens, we'll see how that happens. But again, a pick you can't go wrong with. And I think this is something we're going to say a lot this podcast and a lot this season as well, because it's about selling good players for good players. It's about the battles you pick and the cuisines you choose. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Quick stats for Maddo, 2.89 XGI, second only to Bruno.
Yeah. And you're right. He's an avenues guy, hogging all the set pieces, etc. So again, just a great steady pick. It's going to be difficult to pick and choose, and it depends on what kind of flavor you prefer. But yeah, let's talk about the fixtures though. Let's be devil's advocate. You've got Burnley away and Sheffield United at home after that. After that, there are a couple of difficult games. Arsenal away and Liverpool at home. So that's the one thing that maybe you would consider while picking and choosing your midfielder right now. Does that bother you too much, or are Spurs are going to be attacking no matter what, and that doesn't bother you too much?
They will be attacking, and I like the next two. I thought Burnley were quite leaky against Villa, and again, after a loss, you'd expect them to try to bounce back. They're not going to try to park the bus against Spurs. It's not a Man City sort of thing. So again, plenty of chances. Then what I like about Maddison, Spurs for so long haven't had this sort of player who'll just turn and run with the ball. It's a very unique profile of players. So I think he's a perfect fit. Burnley, Sheffield United are great. Arsenal again, Derby. Traditionally a high scoring game, but yes, tough fixture on paper. Liverpool is at White Hart Lane. Defensively, we've seen Liverpool not the best, and it's Luton and Fulham. The fixtures are great.
Yeah, you don't have issues with that, right? At all.
None.
Cool. And then let's talk about Phil Foden. I mean, spoilers, he's number 1 on my list. Like, I think if you are buying a midfielder, I think it's a little bit of short-term memory where he's sort of pushed on the side and people are looking at Sterling and Maddison first because they had the returns, and it's looking at who returned last week, and it took Phil 10 minutes to come up with a dodgy assist return. But it's just there are 2 or 3 things, okay? I think, and I want to say it, I think this phase until De Bruyne's back is Foden time. Like, I think while City looked fairly functional, I think they are going to be dependent on Phil Foden to create and be responsible with the goal scoring responsibilities in that team. And the fixtures are there for some games with double or triple returns, like Fulham at home, West Ham away, Forest home, Wolves away. Like, they are incredibly good fixtures, the next 4. Yes, you have certain worries about minutes, etc. I'm just not worried. I mean, for people that don't know, he had the shits, which is why he was rested and got on in the game. But even when he came on, he did so much from an FPL point of view. And if you're comparing City versus Chelsea versus Spurs versus Brentford, City attacking midfielder has the highest ceiling by far in these fixtures, and it's not even close in my opinion. And I mean, there's no need to preach it because I was happy to read when we did the mini league mate that 30% of our Discord owns Phil Foden, so they are our people. Cheers to that. It should move to 50%. But if you're shopping for a midfielder this week, it has to be Phil Foden. Don't ignore, don't just pay attention to what happened last week. Foden's ceiling and floor is just much higher, in my opinion.
Yeah. I found it quite funny. Some people on Twitter, they go, see, I told you Foden was a rotation risk. He got sick. That could happen to Bruno, Rashford, Saka, or anyone. Just random stuff that does happen. So, in fact, owners who have got him, I think, are possibly lucky in that sense because nobody's going to go there now ahead of Fulham.
Yeah.
So that's possibly a silver lining you take. That being said, and I know what you mean about, the attack being more dependent on him. Once Champions League comes around, Pep will put square pegs in round holes. There will be teams, as you agree. I agree to the extent you're saying that, the team needs Foden, the team is dependent on Foden. But for Pep, the system is everything. So the risk of rotation that comes around Champions League, keep in mind, we don't know the opponents yet. We'll know something by Friday. If they have a very easy group, this opinion might change. But if they get somebody tougher in their groups, then obviously, I think Foden's a bit more of a risk. But again, the fixtures are great. Just let me read out the fixtures. Fulham, West Ham, Forest, Wolves, Arsenal, Brighton. And again, next four, fantastic again.
I mean, what is objectively the system that Pep is playing right now? He sees this season, so far, based on what we've seen, Pep has decided that I'm going to play Grealish on the left. I'm going to play Walker or Bilva in the tougher games on the right. And I'm going to have sort of twin tens behind Haaland in Alvarez and Foden. Bilva played that game because Foden had the shits. But I think if Bilva has to come in the game, it's probably at the risk of Alvarez. It's maybe confirmation bias, but I don't think there are many people competing to play in that twin 8 role behind Haaland at the moment. And I just remember what happened last season as well, because Foden was the guy who was closest to goal always. In the Newcastle game, he was the one who created everything that City created. Like all the chances to Haaland came through Foden. I think he's just got immense ceiling in terms of goal and assist threat. And I feel bad and kind of good as someone who owns Foden that he's a little bit sidetracked at the moment. But I just want to put my neck on the line and say that if you're shopping for a midfielder, Foden's the guy.
Fair enough. I think he's good, but he would make my top 2. Bit of spoilers again there. We'll talk more later.
Cool. And then there is Mbeumo. Again, while we're doing spoilers, this is the curd rice pick. This is the fish and chips pick. Baker and I were talking midfielders, and you can't go much wrong, and you don't really have anything to say when you're anything to say against Mbeumo if you're talking him up as a pick. Going against Mbeumo as a pick, he did what he did. He could get lucky getting pens, or he could not get lucky getting pens. And he does have the fixtures. They've got Bournemouth at home right now. Then they've got Everton at home and Forest away. But does he have the ceiling that the other 3 names that we've discussed have? I'm not sure. I mean, I want to live a little. I want to take on Mbeumo. I want to hope that he got lucky in the first 2 weeks with 2 pens. And I'm happy to bet against him with these high ceiling players. And I don't want to be afraid saying that. I think you can take him on. I think the potential of the other 3 midfielders is higher. If you own him, definitely don't sell. He's a keep for sure. But if you're shopping for a midfielder right now, I think you have the chance to make up some points going with the other 3. Where do you stand on this?
Completely in the same boat. He had 0.04 XG this weekend. And normally there's talk that he goes central during games when Wissa gets subbed. Wissa didn't get subbed. Mbeumo spent the entire game out on the wing. So ultimately, while he's there, his goal threat is reduced. He still will get a few chances. Brentford do create a lot of big chances, but he's not high in the pecking order for me. Again, like you said, easy hold. But for buying, I think the players who can outscore him over the next 4.
Yeah, but also, if you're somebody who's into curd rice or fish and chips, I wouldn't put anybody against it. But I just think you can get creative and do better in this position. Taking on the Mbeumo owners is where I am. I was talking to Baker, and he had an incredible pun. He's like fish and chips. You can sprinkle some salt and vinegar penalties and put on some mashed peas in terms of him playing as a striker in the last 10 minutes. But in 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to get a little bored. Like there is chicken tikka masala and paneer lababdar and some exotic Asian and Japanese
This is not
there
good,
for the
bro.
takeover.
This is not good at this time to talk about food.
It's there for the takeaway. It's okay. Early season. Indulge in some exotic, fun food. You don't have to go fish and chips right now. I mean, if that's what you want to do in life, fair enough. I'm not judging you. But I just think you can take the other route. That's where I am.
It'd be interesting. Would you pick him on a wild card today? I'm 50-50. I haven't decided about which 5 I would do, and we'll get to that discussion towards the end. I think I might still have him on a wild card, though.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I don't know either, because I haven't put down the 5 picks I would again. Maybe we'll get to that right at the end of the discussion.
Yeah, I have my midfield, and I think I have no comms changing that midfield as things stand is where I am. So let's before we move on, let's do the rankings for these 4, and then we'll talk
Bowen,
about the outside.
Let's talk about Bowen also. I think because Bowen plays Luton, it's worth discussing. I think if you're going on a wild card, I like it as a 1-week pick, but he's got City and Liverpool next. So maybe somebody you get in and then you hop off the next week.
Yeah, he's either a hop on hop off thing. I tweeted about this yesterday, and it comes to mind from what Tan Luke Ashby mentioned to me when he came on the pod for the promoted teams, is that all the points, the majority of the points that Luton Town are going to score this season are going to come at home. And it's their first home game of the season. It's under Friday Night Lights. Yes, the quality isn't there, but that just put me off that punt a little, is where I am with West Ham.
I don't agree with that, because again, they're going to be more open at home. And what do West Ham do? West Ham counter.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling the Bowen punt yet. His underlyings are incredible at the moment, and he looks like a really good player to go for. I mean, interesting, the Walsh on FML FPL, he mentioned that the strategy to go with Bowen, or anybody for that matter, given that it's going to be a while before we own Mo Salah in our team, is have 8 attackers. And it might be useful in the future, especially post game week 4 or 5. It's something to think, especially people are on wildcard, to have 8 attackers, because Europe rotation is going to come in next week. So, if somebody's playing on the weekend, you can take the call and bench that person the next week. 2, yellow cards and red cards are getting racked up.
That I still agree with. Point 1, I don't agree with at all, because A, players get subbed down, and B, just predicting someone because they played on Wednesday, they won't play on Saturday. We've done that so many times with Guardiola and gotten bitten. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
But play the fixtures. That you can
play the fixtures and then have no bench regret. Ultimately, thought this guy didn't have a good fixture. I benched him, whatever. I don't mind that. But just because he played on midweek, don't bench him on the weekend. That's not a good idea.
Just especially if you want to chase Bowen against Luton kind of halts. Because I don't like the idea of playing him against the tougher opposition. Then I'd much rather go for the other 3 names. But if you're doing the whole hop on, hop off, or the 8 attacker thing, then I don't mind it. That's where I am with Bowen.
One more name we need to talk about is Diaby.
I think there are 2 6.5 million names that we talk about. There's Diaby. By the way, he looks electric, man. Like all those decisions, all the shooting.
No Bundesliga tax. Everyone's like, Bundesliga tax. None of it there.
I was guilty of that. I was like, I want to see what he does in the Premier League before jumping on him. But he just looks electric. And like, if you were betting on any game having 2+ or 3+ XG, for and against combined, I think it'd be the Villa games. They're just open, attacking, fun games at the moment. They're creating a lot of chances and they're conceding a lot of chances, and it's just a fun game to watch. So, yeah, I want to go Diaby, but I think the time to get him is probably game week 8 or when we're wildcarding, because the next 4, Liverpool away, Palace home, Chelsea away, Brighton at home. Like, I want to chance with the guys who have better fixtures right now. He looks like an incredible pick, but I just don't see the fixtures. I think the next fixture is good for Diaby with the Liverpool away thing, high line, etc. No Van Dijk, all of that, but not a buy for me right now.
Agree. Who else would you want to talk about? You mentioned 2 midfielders.
Eze, because people own him and it's easy to forget, but now the fixtures get good. In the next 5 game weeks, they've got Wolves at home, Villa away, Fulham at home, United away, Forest at home. Like 4 out of those 5 games are really,
5
really
out
good.
of 5.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming.
I was going to say, you think Villa's a tough fixture, but
yeah, spare a man when he's sick. Spare a man when he's sick. But what do you think? If you're an Eze owner, do you sell? No, I think to chance it.
We'll talk more about next section for about like players about to sell. We'll do a separate one for ranking midfielders on the order they need to go. Else they would be low down the pecking order, but he wouldn't be high on my list to buy.
Yeah, same. I need to see something first. And I think there are better players from better teams on the shopping list right now.
It goes back to what we are saying, right? Ultimately, Hodgson teams and just not attacking. And right now, the problem with he's a single source of creativity in that side. Like we saw what West Ham did with Mitoma. You double, triple team the main attacking guy. Then the rest of the team, you can sort of close them down. And it seems to be what teams will try to do with Eze.
Yeah. He could emerge as a pick, though, because we haven't seen him in a good fixture as yet. So I want to see before I pass any judgments right now, is where I am.
Cool. Let's do our rankings for midfielders to buy.
Yeah, go on. You go first.
Maddo right at the top for me. Nailed on for 90 minutes, set pieces, no Europe. And I feel like we've got a larger sample size of what we've seen with Maddo. With Sterling, if it was any other fixture other than Luton, I'd be like, yep, Sterling number 1. But he would be number 2 for me right now. Mbeumo, who are the other options?
Foden,
yeah, Foden 3.
I don't know, Zoff. I think I'll urge you before you click the buttons this week to think harder about Foden. Because I remember us talking during the City game and after the City game post Newcastle. And you were like, yeah, he looks like a no-brainer right now.
Yeah, so but like, I want the other two guys. No, I'm not saying he's a bad pick, but I have 2 transfers I'm going to make in midfield and it'll likely be the first 2 guys. Foden, it might be the one I do in 5.
I'm just saying think harder. Like before you click the buttons, think harder because I think Foden needs to be more in your thoughts than he is right now. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. So that's number 3. Number 4, probably Mbeumo.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And then Bowen, Eze,
Bowen,
and
Diaby, Eze, etc., like that.
For me. And any left field interest in Son as a punt if he moves striker? Like I want to see him move striker before I do it first.
I want to see how well he plays striker.
Yeah, like we need to see some proof in the pudding there before we. So yeah, my rankings are Foden, Raz, Maddo, Mbeumo.
So Mbeumo 4th is the only thing where we are in agreement.
Yeah, that's where we are in agreement. And it's important to get this out because a lot of people are shopping and I thought doing this pod on Thursday might be too late to get this content out. So yeah.
Yep.
Right. Let's talk about selling players.
It's interesting that neither of us own Mbeumo and we have Pras who's a Mbeumo championer. So it'll be interesting to see his reaction on Thursday.
Yeah, he's going to smirk. He's probably smirking watching this right now. He's like, okay, talking up against Mbeumo. And then he's playing Bournemouth at home, a team that's conceded the most shots in the league so far, sitting on a goal and a fucking penalty. And then, yeah, smirking
Newcastle away.
Points in
Newcastle away next, right? Same thing we said about Palace. Good defenses are good defenses. That's all it is. Ultimately, I know he can haul against Bournemouth, but the Newcastle away is meh. Game week 6 again is someone I might look at him.
Yeah. Fair. Cool. Let's talk about players that you can sell. How do you feel? I mean, this is more a question for you because you own double Arsenal, double United midfield. Where are you at in terms of
and
likely to sell them? And Mitoma. Yeah, tough decisions all around the park.
So again, we go back to the stats, and I simply can't sell Bruno. But when he's posting numbers like this, he looks to, and plus now with Shaw gone, he's taking a lot more set pieces, driving the team. And when the team is playing poorly, I feel Bruno is the one who tries to lead by example. I think he looks a lot sharper. If I had to pick between one to get rid, between Bruno and Rashford, it would definitely be Rashford. That being said, I like the next few fixtures. It's Arsenal, Brighton and Burnley. And what we saw against Villa, Burnley keep a very high line. Villa got a lot of space to exploit behind. So I think the next 3 fixtures are prime for Rashford. Again, even when Champions League start, he's not going to get rotated. You might get Rasmus in the team soon. I think last weekend he wasn't fit enough to make the bench. I think he might.
But he started training.
So I do expect post IB, we're going to start seeing glimpses of him in the team. So I'm inclined to keep Rashford. And again, Arsenal, not look great. I wonder if he's going to stick Partey on the right against Rashford or he's going to go back to the conventional setup they have with White. Because against Partey, I think he could have a field day. But I do think Arteta will put White over there.
Yeah, I think that happens. It's just a tough sell. Whether you're selling any of the 5 names that you mentioned, if push
even
comes
Brighton,
to shove.
Even after Arsenal, you look at Brighton, right? Brighton have been so open in terms of XGC. In terms of chances, consider their midfield looks quite porous. I think the fixture against Brighton after that is a good one. I think better than what I thought maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
If you saw what West Ham did, against Brighton. They just attacked them not having a right back. Like all the balls went to Benrahma. He held up, and that's where Rashford plays. So the fixtures look good for Rashford, and I'm okay holding on the United players because United are not going to sit and dominate teams. They are a moments team. Like they will not play. They'll play poorly for the 15-20 minutes, and then Bruno being Bruno creates a good chance, and we'll have a 5-minute, 10-minute phase where we'll create some chances. So I don't think it's a hard sell. I can't actually decide. Like this is one of the few times I'll sit on the fence. If you're asking me who to sell between Bruno and Rashford, I genuinely think it's 50-50. Because
But let's not sit on the fence. Let's pick one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what my reasoning is. My heart and head always says that this team is made to create chances for Rashford. But what we've seen in the first 3 weeks so far, Bruno's just been everywhere. And he looks in good form also. So how do I recommend or tell anybody to sell Bruno Fernandes right now? Like I just can't do it. But I also think that now Rashford is playing in his preferred position. And I think he's going to continue playing in his preferred position. Then he's also a very good pick. So that's where I'd
Pick one.
sitting on the fence, if not sitting on the fence, with a heavy heart, I'd go by last year's data and say, sell Bruno, hold Rashford.
I'm the other way. I don't think Rash has looked as sharp. Again, like you said, it's not a clear decision, but we're not here to sit on the fence. If I had to sell one,
what is telling is 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or last week, I was like 70% sell Bruno, 30% sell Rashford. Now I'm 50-50. So that pendulum is shifting.
Mount and Shaw being injured, I think, has tilted the pendulum towards Bruno significantly. Because Eriksen allows Bruno to get forward. Shaw allows him to take set pieces. These two factors have changed my thinking a lot.
Fair. And what do you think about selling Arsenal mids not named Saka?
It's interesting because, again, now I think United were quite open. I do expect Arsenal to have some joy against them. But again, Martinelli is playing on Wan-Bissaka's side, right? The next game. Generally, the wingers who play on his side don't get that much joy. Again, the Everton fixture after that is good. Tottenham is good. But now all the players are fit. Jesus is back. That being said, he plays better with Jesus. So I don't know if that's necessarily a negative or positive. Though once Champions League starts, I think Arsenal team sheets we're going to sweat on every week on any midfielder that's not named Saka. I guess not Odegaard. And Odegaard, yeah. But all the other positions I think are up for grabs. So I generally don't want to deal with that headache. So I probably will be getting rid of Martinelli.
But the counter argument is that Jesus is back. And Martinelli does his best work with Jesus. Yeah. So that's just a counter argument. I still don't think, except for Trossard, there's anybody challenging Martinelli for that left wing role, left inside forward role that he plays. So
where does Vieira play when he comes on?
He played the left 8 instead of what Kai has been doing. And he had a phenomenal game. I thought he was really, really good. So, yeah, he changed the game.
Yeah. He needs to drop Kai. So if it's not working, I think he needs to take some more time with that.
Yeah. Like if I was selling, and the other factor in terms of Martinelli is that Nekta is having really good games. I thought he was really good in that cameo also against Fulham, changed the game. So this is what I do in terms of selling. If you don't have Foden or Sterling, then I'm okay to sell Odegaard for sure. I, with a heavy heart, would sell Martinelli, but I don't think I'd sell Bruno. I don't think I'd sell Rashford. I don't think I'd sell Saka. Is where I am.
I'm in agreement. And let's talk about Mitoma a little bit. I think he'd be right on the top of the players I'm looking to sell. The fixture's turn. It's Newcastle. Even though Manchester United is good, then there's Bournemouth, Villa, Liverpool, and Man City. So, and what I saw again, I watched the Brighton game with a little bit more of a critical eye this time because I was a little bit unsure. Very few penalty box touches in terms of goal threat. They double teamed him completely, marked him out of the game. So, and again, Europa League is coming around. Some rotation might happen over there. He's a player I'm okay selling now.
Yeah. Again, somebody you don't sell unless you have a fire burning. It's a luxury move, which is what you're going to make many times this season. So I'm likely going to be doing Mitoma to Sterling this week. And I already own Maddison and Foden, so I don't have that decision to make.
So in terms of, let's do a ranking of players to sell, I think from the more template midfields, I think Odegaard, you would sell, because again, we know that now he's not confirmed on penalties. That's something that's going to vary. His underlying numbers are quite poor. Big dip from last season in terms of chances created. I would get rid of him. I would get rid of Mitoma. before Martinelli, who I'd probably put on third, then Rashford, then Bruno. Any other popular midfield picks we should rank?
No, and I agree with I wouldn't sell Mbeumo, I wouldn't sell Bruno, etc. All the names. I just agree
Even
with what you
Eze,
said.
even Eze, you'd persist with him now because again, Wolves are very different. This is not the Wolves of last year, which are a very defensive team. They're far more open.
What do you do about Richarlison?
Sell.
Yeah, I mean, there is the upside that he could start and again score a brace, but there is also a good chance that he doesn't start.
Even if you have to take the -4 for Maddison, it repays itself over the next 5 to 6 game weeks. I'm very confident about that.
Tough statement. Do you think Ange is gonna win him next game?
If not win him, at least try him out wide or at least try a different. It's just not working. He's trying too hard. He's trying too hard to come. And what happens is when you're trying too hard, you end up doing things like, trying to help the team rather than staying forward in the box.
I'll say this though. Like if I had Mitoma and Richarlison, I'd sell Mitoma ahead of Richarlison this week. Just see it one more time because he's got that ceiling. I'd see it one more time. If you have tougher decisions elsewhere, then sell Richarlison. But if it's between these two, I'd give Richarlison.
Yeah, I'd sell Mitoma first, but again, if you're selling for Maddison, that's fine. But I definitely see Maddison outscoring Richarlison over the next 2-3 games.
Right.
I'm very big on Maddo. Like you saw, he was right on top of my midfield rankings.
Yeah, it's a very soft pick. It's just a very soft pick. You're going to feel comfortable and all fuzzy owning him, but think about Phil, man. Genuinely saying, think about Phil.
Phil's going to come in probably in 5.
It's the Fulham home game, yeah? Yeah, I know Paulinho did well, but they still conceded 3.2 XG against Arsenal. Like, it's the money game. It's the home game. Do it.
Correct. But ultimately, you see what it is for me. Raz is the heart pick. Maddison is the head pick. So, Foden comes in third there. That's all it is.
Oh, man, Zoff. Do it. Just get Foden. Like, let Maddo wait for a week. Get him next week, but get Foden.
Interesting. Cool. Anything else? Should we wrap up? I know we'll have a much longer pod on Thursday where we'll run through our bus teams and stuff.
Yeah. Just a couple of things I want to shout out. Shout out to Ritvik, who was our manager of the month this week on the FPL Wire Discord League. Congratulations. Ritvik wins the membership, a yearly membership of Fantasy Football Scout, and he wins a special mug as well. And I think there is today and tomorrow where you guys can still join us so that you guys can be a part of the competition for September. And, Discord's a great place to be. Great conversation with everybody. I couldn't be there much in the last 2 days because I've been unwell, but generally the place is buzzing. We keep saying that we learn a lot more from them than they do from us. And join us, hang with us. It's great fun. And even if you want to just support us, you can do that. You can either become a member on YouTube or support us on patreon.com/the FPL Wire. Also, the nominations for the FCAs are out, the Football Content Awards. The links are in the description below. If you think we deserve a nomination, that we'd love to be nominated in the best podcast category in fantasy football.
Just one more thing before we wrap up. Liverpool mids, let's just touch upon them in terms of buying, selling.
Oh, I think you sell more. I think you get more in 8 when things are looking better and maybe there's an advantage. But right now, there is too much value to spreading around the funds right now. The fixtures are not there too. So, yeah, that's where I am.
The fixtures aren't bad though. It's Villa, Wolves, West Ham.
I just saw that. Yeah, the fixtures aren't bad.
I think you hold more. The only thing that worries me is the Saudi thing, honestly.
Yeah. Like the thing with Mo is that if you continue holding him, you're going to continue holding him. You're almost handcuffing yourself, and that's the way you want to go. You go that way, but it's going to keep happening. But
I think if you can get to the other guys you need, if you want, you can get to the likes of your Maddison, Sterlings without selling more. You hold. But what about Diaz? Let's talk about Diaz and Jota. And go ahead.
People are going to go down in price from midfield, right? So the money is going to be there. Like people are going to be selling your Arsenal and United midfielders, which are expensive. The other options that we've spoken about are cheaper. So yeah.
Diaz and Jota, quick word.
I don't know what happens with Jota now. Like, Darwin put his hand up. I went into Alon's DM straight on Sunday. I mean, just for people that don't know, I messaged off on Monday morning. I told him that I'm not sure about podding on Tuesday because my throat is absolutely gone. And his reply to me was, so much Darwin love, huh? And I was in Alon's DMs on one day. I'm like, tell me when. I'm chomping at the bit because there's going to be a few weeks that we're going to get where he's going to be a differential. He's like, he's ready for millions and millions of goals from Darwin. We're just waiting. Need to see it for a couple more weeks before we go there.
Cool. Let's wrap up.
Yeah. Diaz hold, I think. I think the Villa defense has shown enough promise for you to hold your Liverpool midfielders this week. I think Jota is a sell, but like be okay with losing 15 points on that anytime you do that move. Because that's just going to happen with you.
I don't mind Diaz as a buy.
Yeah.
I think he's a good
differential. Yeah. Looks like Liverpool's best player in that front three right now.
Very sharp.
Yeah. I think I'm done now, Zoff. I've pushed as much as I could. So we'll just wrap up now.
You're getting all Rani Mukherjee voice on me now. Let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Right, guys.
Yeah.
Good night. Let's see you on Thursday. We'll be back with a much longer pod. We'll cover this, forwards, our bus teams, and a lot more then. See ya.